Kid Hardy and Michael Ford are coming. Ellen Wilkinson, the red flag, she is humming. We get around not as much as Dominic Cummings, even though he's driving blind. We are the Labour grassroots, where like-minded folk dwell. From countryside to city, it's warm and it's witty, the antidote to Pretty Patel. We are the Labour grassroots, time to raise a racket. The future is as bright as Crispin's red jacket. This is the space where we all go hell for leather, free from all the biased BBC blether. Like track and trace, we're better together, just as Carrie and Meg. Yeah, we got all the people from Inverness, Skegness, Barrow, Inverness, Chester, Leicester, Cirencester, Shrewsbury, Oswald Street, Swansea, Perneckley, Barnsley, Beccles, Nottingham and Eccles. We are the Labour grassroots, time to plant some grass. Where we've always had social distancing between us and the upper class.
Welcome to Labour Grassroots. Sunday show, Andrew Marr show's finished, so we've got our own take on it. It's not the Andrew Marr show. I'd like to introduce our two guest newspaper reviews, because last week we had one and people said they prefer two, so I've doubled up and we've got two now. We've got Sonali. Are you there, Sonali?
Sonali, yes. Hello, Crispin. Thanks for having me.
Sonali, sorry.
That's all right, it's got an invisible H.
Okay, well I'll remember that. And you're ready for this review? Have you been up long today?
I've got young kids. I have been up for hours.
Oh, same as me. So that's why I'm doing this. Really, it's just because I've got a 2-year-old. And we've also got on our other reviewer is David Osland. David Osland, are you there?
Yeah, morning, Crispin.
Oh, good to see you. Have you been up long?
Oh, yeah. I'm worked out, showered, breakfasted, caffeined up and ready to go.
Okay, well, if you're ready to go, you sound like you're really up for it. So let's get going. Let's get cracking. I thought we'd start with a talk about the anti-lockdown movement. Have you come across people who are of this persuasion, David?
Well, actually, no, not in my social circle. Everyone seems to think it's a reasonable sort of imposition, but I guess I'm just not mixing in the right-wing set, I guess.
You think they're all right-wing? This seems to be saying they're not all right-wing, that there are other people involved.
Well, yeah, that comes down to the old question of how you're defining the left, isn't it? I mean, yeah, I've met Piers Corbyn, one of the leaders of it, a few times. He's, a nice enough guy as it goes, but hey, I just don't agree with him on this one.
And Sonali, have you met anyone who's in this kind of anti-lockdown movement, or what's your take on it?
I haven't met anyone who's like an anti-masker or anything, but I think we've seen some of this bubbling up for some time, this sort of conspiracy theory sort of stuff. And like, look at the picture here, no new normal. A lot of us probably have quite a lot of sympathy with that, right? It's just that they're coming at it from a very different way and not a very helpful way at all. So, I mean, I agree with them on a lot of things. They're suspicious about sort of freedom of speech in the media. They're suspicious about how functional our democracy is. A lot of us probably agree with a lot of that stuff, but they're blaming lizards, and I think we probably know it's capitalism, right? So I think that we need to sort of like fill this vacuum that seems to be opening up for people who don't want to have vaccinations or masks, and offer a better solution.
Yeah, I think Sonali's got a great point there. I mean, if you're at a demo and somebody breaks out the old British Union of Fascist flag from the 1930s, then, hey, that's a big no-no for a start, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds like a good rule of thumb. I think I won't attend that particular demo. I think you sort of leave at that point. And we've got another story, sort of a bit similar to that, with this expert warns against vaccine false hopes. What are we ever going to get out of this lockdown? I mean, if people are saying vaccines, you can't really worry that people won't take them, and because I suppose some of those people on that anti-lockdown protest won't take vaccines. So where does that leave everyone else? Or do we all have to take them, or should they? What do you think can come from all this stuff? David, sorry, I've got to call you out because there's two of you now. I forgot last week there's only one. David, we'll alternate as well. I won't always put David first, just so you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, anti-vax propaganda is already a real issue in some communities, including where I am in Hackney North, where large numbers in certain communities won't take the vaccine because they're being advised against it by their religious leaders. Immediately you get all sorts of problems, and I hate to get into territory like herd immunity, but yeah, it is a real issue. And what can you do in a democratic society? Should you be able to force people to take vaccines? And yeah, I admit, I don't know. I don't like the idea of the state having the power to force these things. But yeah, on the other hand, we all lose if there's low take-up.
What do you think, Sonali? Do you think this is going to, the sort of fear of vaccines is going to keep this going for much longer than maybe we could have it going?
Well, the Wellcome, what's his name, Jeremy from the Wellcome Trust, he makes a really good, this is a really helpful article. He's really realistic here. He says that if a vaccine does come about, it'll be more like the flu vaccine. It won't be like, MMR or whatever. It's not going to be, it's not going to have sort of like massive efficacy. It'll be probably like seasonal. And I think he alludes to something really important, that who's pinning all their hopes on the vaccines. I mean, I think the governments like Johnson's really want a vaccine so we can just get back to normal. And we have to sort of probably accept that there isn't that we can't just get back to normal. And actually normal was quite shit. So sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Within reason, yeah.
Okay, but normal wasn't great for most of us. So, I think that there's sort of like there's a bigger picture thing here, isn't it? Like we don't have the government who has like the imagination or the will to look beyond just like an easy fix like a vaccine. So I think all of this needs to be put together. Like we need to have, we need to have more imaginative response to COVID. We need to like be able to support people against the pandemic and put public health first, and like look at how like our work-life balance is organised. Like there's definitely answers, but I don't know if they're going to be coming from Johnson anytime soon.
No, I mean I've got another story because that's not related to this actually, but I thought this was quite an interesting one, because if you've seen that the Extinction Rebellion protesters have been stopping the newspapers getting their lies out there, what do you think about Labour's response? I mean, I was quite surprised that Labour sort of said they don't support this. A free press is vital for our democracy, is what Labour said. Apparently Dawn Butler tweeted, bravo Extinction Rebellion, and then it's been deleted. So she's obviously being told off or something. Shouldn't Labour be supporting that kind of thing? Or do you think this is a bit too extreme for Keir Starmer's party? Sorry, Sonali.
It's a bit rich, isn't it, talking about freedom of speech and then making Dawn Butler delete her tweet? That's sort of like, that's not a very consistent commitment to freedom of speech, is it? Why is it Dawn Butler that always gets censored as well? I think this is one of the best things XR have ever done. I think it like really cuts to like the heart of what, like they have those sort of things, what is it, like Tell the Truth. They've actually got to something here about how these sort of papers are sort of propping up a whole sort of economic system that is letting climate catastrophe happen, and they've actually done something about it. And at the same time, sort of revealing this sort of like hypocrisy. Unfortunately, Labour's response has been really poor as well. about supposed freedom of speech in this country. We don't even have a free press. We've got a monopoly press that's run by billionaires.
David, what do you think about this protest? Because you're involved in the media yourself. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest irony here, of course, one of the big activist causes in the 1980s was Rupert Murdoch's attempt to break the printing unions at News International, which led to a series of mass pickets outside the printing plant in Wapping in a deliberate attempt to stop those papers going out. Among the people there facing the baton charges from the police was the younger me, and also among the people there acting as a legal observer was a young trainee lawyer called Keir Starmer, I do believe. So it's funny how life turns out over the years, isn't it? I think Labour's response to this has just been ridiculous. Yeah, the right to peaceful protest, the right to non-violent direct action is just as important as the right to a free press, which I also fully support, of course. But stopping circulation of selected newspapers for a day is hardly a draconian clampdown on free speech in the way the right is trying to present it.
Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a what are they trying to do with this saying we need free speech? What's Labour trying to do? Win over the Murdoch?
No free speech has been stopped, has it? I mean, there is this thing called the internet, as we know, and if anyone was missing their daily dose of strident right-wing opinion columnists, all they would have to do would be to log on to the site. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a big hand reaching out to the Murdoch press. I think Crispin definitely. I think that's
because he did say in that interview somewhere recently that he wouldn't mind if the Sun backed him, didn't he, Keir Starmer? So he's obviously not against that, which I'm sure.
I think he should be against it. I mean, of course, Labour should make efforts to reach out to mass circulation newspapers. Of course it should, but it should hang on to its principles while it's doing so.
Yeah.
Is that possible, though, David? Can you hang on to your principles and reach out to the Sun? I'd question that.
I've got a minority opinion on the left on this, possibly leaving me in a minority of about one. But yes, I think that the left should engage intelligently with the right-wing press. I really do.
All right, so we could have a show on this. We'll have one next Wednesday, okay? David against the 99% saying we shouldn't engage. I can see it being a real good audience for that one.
Everyone ganging up on me. Great, thanks, Crispin.
No, I'm only joking. But there is a story a bit about bit bias here. Is that the BBC are prohibiting in some way any freelancers from having opinions on any particular interesting issues on Twitter. They don't want to hear their opinions. I suppose that's a problem with the lack of is it the NUJ? Would the NUJ go along with that, David?
Oh, crikey, I couldn't say what the NUJ stance on this might be, but it seems remarkably heavy-handed, doesn't it? I can see why people who are supposed to be in neutral hosting roles on major news and political programs should avoid partisan Twitter, but they don't seem to be applying that rule to Andrew Neil, do they?
No. Sonali, what do you think? Do you think some of the BBC reporters are pretty partisan in their stuff, and it's not really in favour of the anti-establishment line? So I don't really see what the problem is. Is it just Gary Lineker they're talking about?
Well, yeah, exactly. If I agree, David, it's incredibly heavy-handed. And what we come back to again and again, they call us snowflakes. What we come back to again and again, I think, is this sort of like right wing. They've got an 80-seat majority, but they still seem incredibly incredibly precious about protecting, defending against any tiny space for criticism. And I think that's really worrying. I mean, like Gary Lineker's hardly some sort of radical. Like he literally just tweets sometimes that maybe we should let like refugees into the country, like Lily Allen. Like it's not sort of like far left stuff. So it seems incredibly heavy-handed to me and quite worrying.
Yeah, I think the BBC's lost a lot of its credibility over the last few years on the way it's behaved with its editorial policy, not with the actual freelancers or presenters. And then, you know, moving on again, we've got this story about what happens when the next stage, I suppose, for this country is they're going to ban communist symbols. They're going to try and ban communist symbols in Brazil. So no one can walk down the road with a hammer and sickle on their T-shirt or something. I mean, that might the right wing, the far right wing regimes that we've got are becoming quite scary, aren't they? And I think it's Sonali's turn.
Yeah, I mean, Bolsonaro, there's two things, isn't there? Like, if you look at, like, Brazil's COVID response has been, I think they're, like, I think they're sort of, like, in some sort of competition with, like, us in the US and India to have the most catastrophic COVID response. At the same time, they're also, like, destroying the Amazon rainforest to sort of, like, you know, they're sort of, like, destroying our future. That's under this sort of fascist government. So it's quite effective, isn't it, to sort of point the finger over at the Reds. I mean, that's not a new strategy, is it? And I think this is like pure distraction. It also very helpfully builds in sort of like a anti-Chinese sentiment that is also really useful for those sort of far right governments to sort of like join together in. So I think this seems like very much orchestrated distraction technique to me. And yeah, I agree. It's a bit of a chilling vision of potentially of the future here for us, isn't it?
David?
Yeah, not a new idea, actually. It's been kicked around on the East European right for some time. In fact, if memory serves, it might even already be an offence in some of the Baltic states, which are, of course, EU member countries. But how big a blow would this be anyway? I think also the left probably needs to get over its addiction to century-old Soviet graphic design. What possible relevance is the hammer and sickle to the struggle for socialism in Britain in 2020? I mean, no, of course I'm not saying it should be banned, but maybe we can come up with a better badge.
Well, you've got an interesting view on that. Yeah, I think you've got a point there, but it is a bit worrying when there's a bit of censorship going on in that way. I mean, looking at the far right as well. I mean, look at the Dover yesterday. There was a big clash between the far right and people who were opposing them. Is this refugee crisis, as they're calling it? Is that? I mean, this is going to get bigger and bigger, is it? Or has it reached its peak? Do you think they're just building it up, or is it finished?
This has been going on for decades, hasn't it? And I've actually just been reading an old biography of Gordon Brown in the New Labour period, which was talking about the way Jack Straw actually quite happily used asylum seeker bashing as a political tool. So it's something I'm afraid that the Labour Party itself has got form on as well. No, it won't stop. As you say, it's been going on for decades. It may go on for decades more, as long as it suits certain political interests.
Sonali?
I mean, there's two things here. I mean, someone's rightfully put in the chat that there wasn't a clash at Dover. There was 60, I think there was about 60 fascists, and they were outnumbered almost 2-1 by lovely anti-fascist socialists, as you can see in the picture there. That's not a clash, is it? Why is this being presented as a clash? That's the sort of like, that's what's underneath all this, isn't it? I mean, there isn't a migrant crisis. Like 40 boats with desperate families coming to our shores. So we can, even then our Home Office can deny our responsibilities under the Refugee Convention to take 0.01% of global refugees. That's not a crisis for Britain. the crisis for Britain is a hard right government that thinks that it's absolutely fine for people to starve to death in their homes and to be exposed to a global pandemic. I mean, the last 2 weeks, they're trying to make it acceptable, this sort of rhetoric. In the last 2 weeks, we've had a young refugee drowning in the sea, and we've had a young mother starving to death next to her baby. That is the crisis, but it's entirely avoidable, isn't it? We've got room, we've got space, we've got resources, and also actually we owe a lot of these countries who we've been bombing and pillaging for some centuries. We have a duty of care to them.
Yeah, and moving on again, because we're sort of running a bit late, but the government have given a job to this ex-Australian Prime Minister who's pretty repellent in some of his views, and they don't seem to be backing down on this, despite the fact that people from lots of different parties, I think the Lib Dems, Labour, and also some Tories are not happy with it. Why do you think the government have absolutely no consideration on how inflammatory it is?
Definitely. I mean, it's become, I mean, once Dominic Cummings is like a chief government advisor, it's a sort of a free-for-all, isn't it, really? They've already scraped the barrel. I don't know, I think they've sort of scraped a hole in the bottom of the barrel now. So Tony Abbott, yeah, I mean, absolutely, as in this article, you know, people like Ian McKellen pointing out that he's a homophobe, he's a misogynist. It's worth pointing out that when he was Prime Minister, he oversaw a catastrophic anti-migrant policy, with asylum seekers being denied entry to Australia and being housed in appalling conditions in Papua New Guinea. Didn't really care when people were literally sewing up their mouths in protest at their conditions. So, I mean, it's worth sort of like really reflecting on the absolute gutter that the government are in. And also these people, they're unelected, they're unaccountable, and they're all propping up, you know, a very ineffectual government now. So, I mean, yeah, this is sort of like, I don't know, have we plumbed the depths yet? I don't know. I've got a horrible feeling there's more depths, but yeah, I think he's just going to be one in a long line.
David?
Well, it's ironic, isn't it, that Brexit has left us having to import third-rate failed politicians from other countries. I mean, it's not as if we should have any shortage of them at home, particularly, is it? My Australian friends tell me he actually is an extremely clever guy, if that's any consolation, but they also use the sort of expletive that I don't think I will use at this time on a Sunday morning to describe him. Yeah, this is a man, as I say, who's had the hypocrisy to condemn immigrants swarming to Europe, to use his own words, and then coming over to get a job in Europe himself. Words kind of fail you, right?
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before. So it might just be the start of more, as you say. But this article in the Observer today seems to suggest, David, that that Sunak's waiting in the wings, that Starmer's what's it called, forensic qualities have scuppered Johnson, so they think, let's get in that Sunak. What do you think? What do you think's going on there? Do you think Johnson's days are over soon?
Is it true? Is it spin? We don't know. Could I see the Tories get rid of Johnson? Yes, I suppose I could. Sunak again, I've seen him close up speaking at a committee meeting. Again, obviously very bright, very media friendly. How much substance has he got on the big issues? I guess we'll see if he ever gets the top job.
Sonali?
Sunak, yeah. I mean, I hope, you know, I would love to see Johnson be ousted by his party, and of course the Tories have got form for that. But Sunak, what is all this dishy-rishy, just sort of like appalling sort of narrative that's been like, you know, makes me sick in my mouth every time I hear that stuff about Rishi Sunak. He's sort of been doing a lot of this sort of socialist cosplay stuff, you know, like a lot of this stuff about around the economy, pretending that he's got some sort of bold vision. He's sort of just been cherry picking a few really absolutely necessary elements of the Labour manifesto, and they were all sort of like hailing him as some sort of economic visionary. I don't know. I think that what we need really, I think that sort of shows that people really do want sort of like societal change. They want those answers. At the moment, they're just getting like some sort of like piss poor version of it. I would like Labour to occupy that space instead of letting the Tories sort of continue this cosplay thing and pretend that Sunak's some sort of visionary that's going to come in and change society for the better.
Do you think? Go on.
I'm going to say I'm with Sonali on that. I mean, the spectacle of watching a Tory Chancellor float the idea of a modest increase in corporation tax and the Labour front bench coming down like a ton of bricks and saying, oh, you can't do that, it'll hit growth. I mean, yeah, once again, there's 2020 for you, I guess.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable how the Labour Party's changed in such a short space of time, isn't it? And there's one more political story that I thought I'm not sure about the legality of it or his position here. Sonali, what do you think about Ian Murray having nearly joined the independent group Come Change UK, Come whatever it went to? Should he be expelled for nearly joining them, or I don't really know? What do you think? I mean,
it's pure gold. It's pure gold. This story, the image of him like practicing his photo opportunity for Tinge, as I like to call them, and obviously like way more interested in, I guess, whether they were getting his best side or not than his constituents, who presumably really could have done with some leadership from their MP. It's sort of like, it's almost hilarious, isn't it? But it just sort of shows how utterly destructive the right wing of the party are. The narcissism is sort of just mind-blowing. Yeah, I think he should be suspended as per party rules while this is investigated, for sure. I mean, there's obviously visual evidence, and of course, this isn't happening in a vacuum. Like the right wing are manoeuvring against Richard Leonard in the Labour Party at the moment. They haven't given up. You know, they want another coup in Scotland now, and our Scottish comrades, I mean, I really do feel for them. This came up at Momentum's NCG on Saturday, and like Katrina, who's the Campaign for Scotland's chair, they're doing fantastic work on building the grassroots in Scotland, because they absolutely, you know, they've got a fight on their hands here, and it's completely pointless. It's needless. We should be unified against an incredibly destructive Tory government. So it's sort of, I don't know, it's sort of like it's between sort of it's somewhere sort of like laughing through tears at this story.
David, what do you think? Should he be expelled or just suspended?
Well, we've got to remember he is Labour's only MP in Scotland. I mean, that said, he wouldn't even be my second choice for Shadow Scottish Secretary, but I think he should be held to account to the same standards as any other member. You know, if a party expels people for retweeting Caroline Lucas, then the same standard of discipline should apply to Ian Murray.
Yeah, that's a good point about that. Well, thank you both for going through so many stories at this time, although you both get up early anyway. It's not like you've made a big sacrifice.
I see it as an enormous sacrifice, Crispin.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on, and I think it was a fantastic sacrifice for you both. We're now joined by Kevin in Scotland.
Hi, Crispin. Hi, everyone.
We're just hearing about what was going on in Scotland there with the plans to depose the leader of the Labour Party in Scotland. And what's going on? Why is Scottish Labour attacking itself again?
Well, first of all, thanks for dropping the Ian Murray story in right at the start there again. That couldn't have come at a worse time. I think your reviewers nailed it on the head again when they mentioned the fact that he's the only MP that we've got in Scotland. So the SNP would run and run with that. If he was to be suspended or expelled. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time for Ian Murray particularly, but that would just be more ammunition for what is a centre-right Scottish government up here that a lot of people, I think, in the rest of the UK don't really realise is the case. But the issue with Richard Leonard is just shocking. I know some of the people involved personally, and the disappointment that MSPs like James Kelly seem to be pushing again to remove a leader, which would be the seventh or eighth leader in 6 years. It's ridiculous.
And it says in the papers that there's some kind of that they're trying to do a grassroots campaign to get rid of him. What is the grassroots like for Scotland Labour? How many members are there in Scotland?
I mean, there's not as many members as there were. This whole thing, I only found out about this grassroots movement this morning. A few thousand members up here, and most of the members will back Richard Leonard. This is the thing. This is why they haven't come forward with a challenger. They want him to resign. If they challenge Richard will win, because the membership and the unions, they'll back him. And he's come out fighting very well. He's got the right message, and you have people that basically want him to go down to the level of squabbling with the SNP and the Tories over a constitutional argument, when the health service, the education system, social care in Scotland is being decimated under a centre-right centralising party that's only interested in power for themselves at the end of the day.
And how do you feel it will play out if there were a referendum?
It's impossible to say. This year has been unlike any other. Certain polls have put independents in the lead here, so it could go either way. But really, for the Scottish Labour Party, that's not what we're interested in. We're interested in social justice and the things that affect everyday people's lives. Workers' rights. We're not interested in this never-ending squabble. We can't out-nationalist the SNP. We can't out-unionist the Tories. And that seems to be the only issue in Scotland, and that's why we are falling behind, because it takes away from everything else that normal countries are trying to deal with. It's a mess. It's just a mess up here.
So do you feel that Labour in Scotland can rebuild? How optimistic are you?
Sorry?
How optimistic are you that Labour can come through?
It's going to be a struggle. We will get there. The narrative will move on at some point. We've got the right message. It's just not cutting through, because any time there is a scandal or some sort of issue, instead of the administration taking responsibility, they just start talking about independence again. It's the carrot for the voters. She's only talking now about an independence referendum because there's an election in 8 months, and she knows that people see the SNP in government as a means to an end. Not interested in SNP's regressive policies. They just think it's the vehicle for independence, and that's what they've got over everyone at the moment. Nicola Sturgeon is not a progressive leader. Just because she can read a script and hold a daily press briefing better than Boris Johnson can is not really a barometer for success. But people are lapping it up.
Got Mark McDonald on the line. Mark,
can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Excellent.
Mark, just to start with, I saw that you're representing. You're in a case, a legal case at the moment that's in the papers. which is about the this guy Michael Stone, who's been in jail for quite a while, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'm the director of Miscarriage of Justice organisation, and I've represented Michael Stone now for 22 years, taken him back numerous times to the Court of Appeal and put submissions into the CCRC. And recently, over the last few months, we've been getting lots of fresh evidence in relation to not only the prosecution case. The prosecution case rested upon one man who is a convicted murderer who said that the rest of the crime with no forensics, no identification, nothing else, and someone else has now confessed to the murder, yet Michael Stone still is in prison. And I've been, as I say, campaigning for his release for many years, and there's too many institutions, I'm afraid, that have been involved in keeping Stone in prison, not least, of course, that after he was convicted, there was a whole mental health review which changed the law in how we deal with people with mental health issues. Indeed, he was convicted under when Tony Blair was Prime Minister, and there were discussions I received under Freedom of Information Act at cabinet level on his conviction. And so over many years, I've been involved, and I've read nearly every single document on this case, and I've got absolutely no doubt that we have an innocent man who's been in prison now for, as I say, 23 years.
Wow. Have you been involved in any other cases with someone who's been in?
Yeah, I've represented. You know, our criminal justice system works well, and many people who are guilty are convicted of serious crimes, and many people who are not guilty are found not guilty of the crime. But now and then something goes wrong, and innocent people land up in prison, and it could be said to the jury, or there's fresh evidence since. But and so I have been involved in a number of cases over the years of people who have been wrongly convicted of serious crimes. Luckily, we don't have the death penalty in this country, because, of course, if we did, someone like Michael Stone would be dead now, and I've got no doubt that this man is innocent.
Oh, well, it's good to see that you're doing fighting for him. And I was going to ask you as well. You're standing for the NEC,
Yes.
rather like I am.
Yes.
You've got your 5 nominations now, so you're going to be on the ballot paper.
Yes, that's correct.
What's your pitch?
Well, funny enough, I've been reading about the GMB internal report that by Karen Monahan, who, as a result of complaints in relation to sexism and misogyny within the union, there's been this report that's been widespread, and it has found institutional misogyny and bullying within the GMB. And I would encourage anyone to read it, but let's not think that they are just the tip of the iceberg in relation to what's going on in these large institutions. And it brings in really the focus of what's been going on within the Labour Party over many years. And the interesting thing about the GMB report is that it covers regions as well. And I think what we movement is, although we've got the Michael Ford, I think that's just inquiry. I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. What we need to do is really look at our Labour Party, the institutions across the board, and ask ourselves, are they fit for purpose? There's bullying, there's misogyny, there's issues in relation to racism. And I think this needs to be exposed. We need to have a long period of reflection upon how we run our labour movement. And the only way we can do that is by insisting, by having an NEC that says, look, are we really fit for purpose? And one of my objectives will be to re-look at how the party works, not just in relation to issues of misogyny and bullying and racism, if they are there, and we know from the leak report that there are some real serious issues, but ask ourselves, does it do the job that it should be doing, which is winning an election? In 2017, we saw that certain elements of the party were against winning an election. How on earth can that be? I am not confident that we We've moved on from that, and we need to ask ourselves what we need to do. And as far as I'm concerned, the NEC should be insisting now on a widespread review of the whole of the party, its structures, and as I say, asking a single question: is it fit for purpose?
Well, yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. So, but the thing is, you've obviously got the slates that are running against your being an independent like me. So you're in support of the left slate, is that right?
I think we need to get more people up from the left on the NEC. Now, the way that the slate was put together, I'm afraid, was not democratic. It was not really properly scrutinised, and there's no accountability. The very thing that we're criticising the party for has come about in both the right and the left slates and the way they're all put together. However, we have a bigger fight here in relation to the NEC. We've got to make sure that people on the left are on the NEC, absolutely. And really my campaign it's not just about looking at a slate or looking at individuals. You've got to ask whether they're on the left or on the right. And if you support the left, that's great, vote for left candidates. But is that left candidate able to do the job that you want them to do? Do they have the experience? Do they have the depth of skills and knowledge and the fight in them to take on what will be, over the next couple of years, a real struggle to make sure that we have socialism at the heart of our movement? And so, yes, we need someone on the left and we need more left people, but we need left people who have the ability and the proven experience to be able to do that. And that's my
me.
pitch.
And that's me.
You. That's definitely you. I like to think that's me as well.
I thought that's a great intro for me. So I'm only joking. But no, I see it's a difficult situation. I think that there's still a month or so till the actual ballots are sent out. I think there should be a bit more talking between all the candidates on the left, possibly, to work out a way around this.
I don't know if you've invited many from the left slate onto here, and how many have actually taken up the opportunity.
I have invited, but they're often not around, so it's not making any casting any aspersions. But look, I've got to move on now. But it's great to catch up with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you're doing, and that, especially with the case you've taken on there, and great to see you. So, what we're going to move on to now is actually, this might interest you, Mark. It's the clash of the CLPs, and it's two Stoke constituencies. We have Stoke South against Stoke Central. So I am going to bring in, firstly, Andy Platt. Are you there, Andy Platt? He is here. Andy?
I'm here, Crispin. Yes. Good morning.
You are there. You are there. Now, I'm looking for your rival.
We're only comrades in Stoke.
And Joe. So, Andy, you're representing Stoke Central.
Correct.
And Joe?
Yeah.
You're representing Stoke South.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've got your Stoke City top on.
Have I, Yak?
What is it? CW? Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were getting all into the... Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. CWU top. Right. Okay, so we'll start the quiz. We haven't got very long. The first question is, people have been saying the questions are too hard in this, so I thought I'd make them a bit easier this week. I want you to name, first of you to come in wins, okay? Are you ready for this, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Who is... Right, I'm going to do some masks, people wearing their coronavirus masks. Who is this?
Annalise Dodds.
Oh, there you go. 1-0.
He is good, isn't he? Joe's good.
1-0 to Joe. Right, okay.
It's all in the eyes, Platty. It's all in the eyes.
So, the next question is, who is this?
Jonathan Ashworth.
Right, 2-0 to Joe.
Wow, he's good. He is good. He is good.
Who's looking good on these masks, though? I'd say Annalise probably had the best one so far. And your next question is, this is a tough one, okay? So just be ready for it. First one in gets it. Who is the guy in the middle on this one?
Keir Starmer.
Keir Starmer. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And doesn't he look good in that mask? But no one else is wearing one around him. I thought that was quite an amusing thing that he's actually the only one wearing one. Has he got the mask there in his hand for the other guy? But he's not wearing it. Okay. So you've got 3 then, Joe.
Oh, I got that one as well at the same time.
I'd say that was pretty. I'd say we said that at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll call that a tie. So it's 2-0 to Joe so far. Now the next question is to both of you. I want you to give me, Joe, because you're winning, you answer first, okay? And then what I want you to do, Andy, is say whether it was before or after this time that he says it. Right, Joe, what year did Jack Ashley become MP for Stoke South?
66.
You've got it. So you've got that one. So there you go. Sorry, Andy, you didn't get a chance to come in. He got it on the button there.
Well, I agree.
You agree. Right. Okay.
Doesn't that make it a tie?
No, well, no, you don't get a point. You agree. Oh, okay. Yeah, but Joe's winning at the moment. So this is your question, Andy.
Oh, God.
What was Tristram Hunt's? No, who is Tristram Hunt's cousin? An MP.
Wow.
Former MP.
I am aware of this, but I can't. It doesn't come to mind. I'm sorry.
Do you think it's a Tory or a Labour MP?
I think it's a Tory.
Yeah, you're right. It's a Tory MP. Joe, do you want to come in?
I don't know. Just because they got the same surname, Jeremy Hunt, but I don't think that's right.
Is it one of the Bottomleys or something like that?
Oh, you got it. He's got it.
Is
Yeah,
it?
he's got it. Yeah, Virginia Bottomley. Right.
Wow. That was depths of the memory, that was.
Yeah, well, you got right. So it's 3-1. It looks like you've lost already, Andy, but you can have a consolation prize by trying to get this one. I'll give it to you first. How old was Stanley Matthews when he played his last match of his career for Stoke City against the mighty Fulham? How old was he? I want it in years and days, and then I want Joe to say whether it's higher or lower than that.
Right. I will say he would. It was on his 51st birthday, so I don't have to guess on the days.
So you're saying he's 51?
Yeah.
Was he older or younger than 51, Joe?
Well, I only have to just say old. Yeah, older than.
You think he's older? No, he was 50 years old and 50 days. So Andy got that one. So the score is 3-2 to Joe.
Oh, close.
And for anyone who's under 50 years and 50 days, you can still get a game for Stoke. So keep going, keep trying. We have got here 2 of our comedians, and they haven't been able to come in yet because I've been too engrossed with these political talk. Don and Patrick, are you there?
Hello.
Morning.
Patrick?
Yeah, what's happening? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's good. Look, I thought we'd lighten the stories a bit with there's a story here in the Sunday Mirror, because it's a Sunday and we have the papers. I thought I'd just try and lighten the mood a bit.
Yeah.
What do you think about this defence of a drunk driver?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in fishing, but I've got a feeling this guy's doing it wrong. If he's standing in the water with his tadger in the actual water, I don't know how he's trying to catch the fish. But the thing is, it is look, the police really need to update their skills, because they should be getting around people like this. If someone says, look, his Tadger's got too tiddly, just pull out a hairdryer. Start getting the hairdryer out, start trying to bring some life back to it. Or, the police, what they used to do, if they think you're drunk, you just put a fishing line down, make the guy try and walk in a straight line along the fishing line and just get a fish at the other end and just try and get him to come to the fish. I mean, he's a fisherman, so that would be the idea. But I think the biggest problem with this story for me is this guy needs to get a new hobby. Because if you have to get absolutely smashed out of your face and drunk to go to spend all day doing something that supposedly that you love, like fishing, then you probably need to do something else. Because fishing really, I mean, there probably is anglers on here, I don't want to upset anyone, but fishing to me is just cock teasing the fish. Because the fish don't know whether these poor fish are just swimming around in the river, just enjoying themselves. They don't know 1 minute there's a bit of bait there. They don't know, oh, we're going on a trip. Am I getting taken somewhere? Am I staying there? Because anglers do this, they catch a fish, they look at it, and then they don't know whether they're going to put it back in the water or take it home. So I'm on side of the fish here, and I think that anyone who's caught drunk should be thrown in the river.
Oh, what? I don't think Mark, he's a lawyer. He might not approve of that sort of behaviour.
Mark agrees. He totally agrees with me.
Don, do you? What do you think? Do you like fishing, Don?
I've never been fishing, but if I had to go, I'd probably have to drink loads just to get through the experience. So you'd be caught out a bit like this guy then. Yeah, this guy, what happened to this guy? I'm worried that he'll get caught by the police. He's got caught by the police. He might have to go to jail for this, and he'll be in jail with the anti-maskers. So it'll be just on one side you'll have murderers, paedophiles, and the other side you have someone who's drunk fishing. So that's going to be a weird reason to go to jail. But yeah, I think I sympathise with that guy as well. I would drink loads if I'm fishing.
And okay, so you're right. Okay, and what have you been up to this weekend? Have you been doing anything other than not fishing?
I'll tell you something, Crispin, and this is might be a shock to some people, but last week I went on the anti-lockdown protest with a couple of comedians and friends of mine, and it was ruined because the British Union of Fascists turned up. But I do question some things about the lockdown. I think personally, I wear a mask. I'm up for a vaccine and stuff like that. But I think we need to question some of the draconianness. And some of the stuff doesn't make sense. The fact that it's important that we wear a mask, but then this government are so stupid. They've had an eat-out scheme where everyone's not wearing a mask in a busy restaurant, so it doesn't make sense. And I think they're just making it up as they go along.
Yeah.
That's a very serious point.
Sorry, there's no joke to that.
No joke. All right. And just so everyone knows, Susie's not able to make it on this show because she's got family issues, nothing to do with her having a new boyfriend or anything like that. So I'm just going to bring in Rob. Are you there, Rob?
Yes, I am. Morning.
Thank you for waiting. Good to see you again. Have you been busy?
Yeah, stuff. Nothing particularly. Except I had an album come out on Friday. That was quite good.
Oh, just a stuff. Is that an album's coming out? Oh, just a little album coming out. Very, very modest of you. And for this show, we've got a song about the proms.
Well, yes, I sort of started writing it for last Wednesday show about the death of local government and the way that central government is actually stopping local people making decisions about how they have housing and stuff like that. And it just kind of riffed on about the whole. It sort of fits with today's program because it's about these kind of outmoded ideas of nationalism. You know, there's national identity, which is, I was thinking about in Scotland that they all go, well, we're, independence. Those same ideas are really toxic here, aren't they? It's just that being English, we kind of don't notice how toxic our nationalism is. So, and the ideas of these sort of stereotypes of nation, they bear no reality to how we are now. They're just kind of like old clothes that people dress up in and mummy about in. It's like a costume drama, like pretending we're still in Jane Austen's time or whatever. It's just pathetic. And the proms, all that kind of flag waving.
Yeah,
But
so yeah, because they had that story about Royal Britannia not being and the
yeah,
other one. I don't
I
know
hope,
what's the other one.
I hope that some
Land
bloke
Breton Toy.
talking about that, bleating on about how and just bleating on about how well, it's not it. But we don't have to be ashamed because everybody had slaves, and Rule Britannia is a good song to sing. Just the ill education of people is just. It would be nice. It would be nice that we might have a free press and a free media that might spread objective ideas, but unfortunately, we're just lumbered with idiots. Who will buy my old town hall? Gentrify my healthcare. Old Albion is up for sale. Jerusalem's on welfare. But buy my school, my hospital, and privatise my virtue. But just don't touch my heritage, my statue of Winston Churchill. It's the last night of the proms. Yeah. Ain't it time we all moved on? Oh, we don't want democracy, we just want British orders. We're the motherfuckers of the free, so give us back our borders. We don't need democracy, one leader and one party, with a blonde or two or three. Oh, he just likes to party. It's the last night of the proms. Ain't it time we all moved on? There used to be this country. It looked a bit like this. When they played God Save the Queen, we all took the nearest exits. Well, the crowd surged from the Albert Hall, Union Jacks like hammers, looking for some empire they could park their rule Britannias. There are fascists in Trafalgar Square, the president in the palace. You met a man who wasn't there, Prince Andrew says to Alice. Oh, it's the last night of the proms. And ain't it time we all moved on? It's the last night of the proms. Ain't it time, surely, we all moved on? Surely.